Wong. I am currently living in US in Los Angeles. I used to live in Hong Kong. I used to teach in Hong Kong as well. So I started my Wing Chun journey with Sifu Wong I think around, I want to say 1984, 5, 6-ish. I don't really recall the exact year. I was between 9, 10, 11 years old. Period when just a little bit before I was about to be sent to boarding school in Boston. So how it started was, Sifu was a good friend of my mom. Back then in the early 80s, to avoid us getting bullied or somehow to protect ourselves, she said, we should go learn some Kung Fu from Sifu. And I didn't know who Sifu was. My mom just said that, oh, you're gonna go meet a Sifu. He is the Siheng of Bruce Lee, Leung. And it'll be good. So in my head, I was really excited because I loved Bruce Lee when I was young. I watched a lot of his movies. I thought I'd be doing the high kicks and all the screaming and all that stuff. And that was that was in my head what we were going to. And I remember going up there, seeing Sifu for the first time, and in front of me was a person who I still had the image of, oh, he's probably going to be like similar to Bruce Lee. Looked nothing like Bruce Lee, obviously. Didn't have his shirt on. I think he had shorts on. Looked me up and down, and my brother, and I had someone bring us up too, and just sort of introduce us as, oh, we are my mom's son, etc. Oh, and he's like, oh, okay, come to learn Wing Chun, and I remember one of the person who brought us up there said, oh yeah, please call him Sifu. I was like, oh, Sifu. And from that on, that's how I started Wing Chun. And he taught us the ceiling tao. And there's pictures of me. If you see a skinny kid in yellow jumpsuit or whatever, tank shirt, that's me in those pictures. So I remember doing ceiling tao back then, and he taught us the whole ceiling tao in a couple classes. But I didn't know what to do with it. He didn't explain it. Obviously, we were too young to understand anything. And the way, when we started the Yi Kim Yama, it just felt so awkward. And, in my head, I kept thinking Kung Fu was the same as karate, and because that was what was popular back then. It looked nothing like it. And I'm like, what is this stuff? This is weird. But, they were my elders, and he was my mom's friend, personal friend, so I didn't dare to go against that. So we went a lot, and I remember back then, a couple of fond memories of those days was Sifu had in the corner of the room, there's a metal bench that people used to do weightlifting and did a bench press. That bench was just a piece of metal with some legs on it, no padding whatsoever. And I remember I was so young, I was always afraid of hitting that bench because it hurts. I had no paddings on it. So that was one. Two, I remember seeing the Zhong and the Ba Zham Do, and back then seeing the Ba Zham Do was, hanging on the wall was one of those scary things. One, as we're taught when we're young, don't play with knives, don't touch it. I saw it and I was like, oh, I didn't know if they were sharpened or they're not sharpened. It looked really scary. I saw the Zhong, I didn't know what it was about. All I know was, don't go near it. That's what I was told. Don't go near it. You don't know anything, don't go near it. Just go to the wall back, punch the wall back, and just do your ceiling tao. And a couple times I remember I was up there. I remember seeing a Siheng was missing a hand, and obviously that ends up being for the bear. And to me, that was quite impressive because he's doing all the stuff, and it's amazing. He's really good. But seeing that happen was an eye opener. It's like, wow, he's still, he still continued practicing and working as if his hand was there. So that was quite impressive. And at that time, I believe the people who were in the group, Philip was for sure. I remember Leung, because I remember seeing the only woman in the group. She had a headband on. She was punching the wall back pretty hard. Over the years, I think around the late when I was in my teenage years, so early, maybe possibly early 90s, mid 90s, 16, 17, I continued to go back to the Gun. And somehow I learned, a lot of the training back then, aside from the Sium I learned the Dan Qi Sao, Shun Qi Sao from my Sifu's nephew, Ivan Wong. But anyways, I remember one time we went up to the Gun. I told Ivan, hey, can you go up to the Gun with me so that I have someone to train with? Because at that time when I went, it was usually around between 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock-ish after work, and just before dinner time, because my mom would not allow me to stay in the Gun past 7 o'clock. So Raspberry was only the first person I remember talking. Thank you, Si-Heng. Talked to me, and I said, hey, can you train Sun Qi Sao with me, gentleman? And he did, and he was very patient. And I remember he was, it was hot. Everybody had their shirts on, but he had a six-pack on. We were doing Kun, so I thought he, helped me progress on that part. So there was like two funny stories. One time, he taught me, he trained with me doing the Sun Qi Sao gentleman. And then, he was just doing his stuff on the side. Sifu had a really big, heavy hanging bag. I don't know what was filled in, but it was one of those heavy ones, not the ones that you see now in boxing gyms, so straight ones, but this was like a teardrop one. I remember I kicked that thing out, and I did a little bit of Taekwondo, and I kicked that thing hard with a roundhouse kick. That back did not move. And I was like, dang, that really hurt. So I was like, wow. And then, because it's teardrop, there's the part where there's nothing, no padding, just, the leather and the chain that was holding. And I kicked that part because, it didn't hurt as much. I thought I was doing flashy kicks. And I remember Raspberry got to say, oh, you got some nice kicks. I was like, oh, thank you. And I saw Sifu looked out at the corner of the eye, on his eye, just kind of looked at me, did that kick, didn't say a word, and just walked away. And I knew, maybe I should be doing that. And I just went back to punching the wall back. And then obviously another funny story was, one time Ivan and I were training up there, and he taught me the laps, and I was really excited. I was like, oh, okay. I keep practicing the lap with him. And, we were, and this was already, I think, in Taiji. And we found a really nice little corner, I think where the pole is, or where the pole still is, and we were doing that, and I didn't think anybody would see, no one would really pay attention. It's just the two of us who were sort of teenagers. He's a little bit older. Yeah, I think he was maybe 19 by then. I was 16, 15-ish. So he trained me, and then out of the blue, from the other side of the room, where the TV was, we heard Sifu yell up. I called Ivan by his name, and he calls him in Chinese name. So he goes, "阿德，唔好教佢呢啲嘢住，叫佢做翻啲基本嘢先." And in translation, it says, tell him to do, don't teach him that, do the basic stuff first. And that surprised me because I didn't think he would pay attention to me, because there's so many things out there much better than me. I just one of the many doing my thing, and we were hiding, and he found us. Maybe it was the mirrors on the side that kind of gave us away. But after that, his nephew, Ivan, was like, sorry, man, can't help you. Just got to do back to basics, Sifu said. So that was that. I wish I could have asked Sifu a lot more questions. The only thing I asked him was probably like, oh, Sifu, say man, and he likes to write his name on newspaper, or he likes to play the Diu. It's a card game. I don't even know how to play it. I was like, oh, Sifu Diu. Yeah. And then obviously when he sees me come back during the summertime, it's like, oh, you come back啦，你翻嚟啦，翻嚟放假，or for this vacation. I was like, 係啊，Sifu. And that was the sort of the limit of our interaction. I had more interaction with his nephew because he was close to my age when we were friends. And back then, even in high school, there was no email. It's only letters. So we used to write each other letters. I think at that point he was going to school in Canada, and I was in the US, and I would write him, and he was like, hey, and I would like, hey, did you get into any fight? Did you use any Wing Chun? And then he would write me back, no, I didn't fight anybody. It's not worth it because they don't know Wing Chun, so why bother? And then he's like, what about you? Did you practice the 小龍頭? I remember once one of his letters, like, he wrote in Chinese, 記得練小龍頭啊. I was like, oh yeah, just practice your 小龍頭. One more interesting story was one night, one class, and it was during the time when they were doing a documentary some TV station was doing a documentary for Bruce Lee back then. And Ivan was really into filmmaking, was really interested in the film industry back then, even at that age. And he was like, yeah, those guys are coming out, they're gonna film Sifu, they're gonna interview Sifu. And he's like, hey, you want to be in TV? I was like, well, what am I gonna be doing? You know, I was like, oh, TV, that's a good thing. So it's like, yeah, you just stay in the back corner, just doing Sifu Tao. You know, they're not gonna interview, but just be a backdrop. And I was like, oh, okay. Then I thought about it. I was like, well, if I got on TV and my mom saw it, I'm gonna get killed because she doesn't like, you know, us getting exposure like that. So I told Ivan, oh, I'd love to, but I think my mom, which Ivan also knows as well and know how scary she can be, so I said, yeah, I don't think my mom's gonna let me, so I don't think that's gonna happen. So, you know, those were like my interesting stories. You know, unfortunately, by the time I really was into Wing Chun over the years, later down, after I've tried a lot of different martial arts, Sifu passed away in '97, and I think that was the time I was just finished college, and I was still in Boston, about to start working. But anyways, you know, I came back after that to continue learning from Ivan, a couple of other Sihings, and just really push myself. But you know, for me, my impression with Sifu was really memorable, although we didn't have a lot of interaction. I knew he had a lot of the Sexiwie, those stories. I wish I went, but I was never allowed to. It was way too late. So anyways, those were my interesting stories. I hope you guys all enjoyed it.